We are just constantly teetering on the edge of the enchanted forest, and whatever characters come into play, we like to say we're the land of misfit toys, and that's who we are.
This is Who's This For? A communicators podcast. Each week, I talk with writers, musicians, media makers, and more to get a glimpse at how they craft messages that connect. And now, here's the show. Hey, thank you for listening or watching another episode of Who's This For? My name is Scott Morfitt, and it is my pleasure to bring you someone that does marketing for one of my favorite places on the planet, somewhere I've loved since I was like, 4 years old. So I'm obviously going to be doing some hard hitting journalism today, but it's someone, yeah, who communicates on a lot of different levels, and I am excited to talk with them. Welcome to the show, Marsha Hovey.
Hi, thanks for having me, Scott.
Thank you so much for being here. I gave a little bit of your CV, but do you want to give a quick 1 minute background of what you do in the world and why I'm talking to you?
Yeah, so for the past 7 years, I've been the marketing director here at Trollhaugen, which is a one-person department. So I wear a lot of hats here. Also live close by to you in the Osceola community. Although I am not originally from the Midwest, I was born and raised outside of New York City.
We forgive you.
Nice. Into a skiing family, so I was very much raised at a ski area similar to Trollhagen, and that spurred kind of my life trajectory. I went to college out in Colorado to chase snow and then continued west out to Mount Hood, Oregon. So I've been fortunate to live many places because of action sports and recreation and events and marketing.
First question, and this will sound like maybe this, I've been working on this one for a while, but what makes Trollhagen special, like in at its core to you?
I like to refer to Troll as the anti-corporate ski area. For outsiders who are not in our little weird bubble of skiing and snowboarding, we've seen a really big shift in the business of ski resorts over the last probably 10 years, especially in America. And so Trollhagen is really special in the respect that it is a true family-owned resort for 3 generations, and that's it. There's no outside influence. We're a really small team that works year round together. And as the industry shifts towards these more pay to play type models and what we can give you and what you can get, we really try and focus on who we are at our root, which is a local resort where people can go and feel like maybe the infrastructure is updated, but it feels frozen in time in the right way. And everything we do here is to try and make people have fun, get outside, and disconnect as much as possible from some of those larger things that are infiltrating our little business.
I love that, and let's talk about all that's evil with the corporate world in a little bit. While I love corporate sponsors, I am definitely punk as heck as all get out. But I want to talk about that classic ski experience first, because what really is that? Because I found it a little background on me. I grew up right next to Troll, and which is amazing, and it was a great childhood. But it was just like the place I go 5 miles from my house, and it's the place I go 5 miles from my house now, ironically. But what is it that makes it so classic and special? What is that feel versus maybe what the sort of corporate feel is? I think people can get the corporate feel if they went to a big concert, they'll understand that service level of the big places. What is that classic?
Sure. Yeah. And for music heads, it's like going to see a concert at Mystic Lake versus Turf Club. And that's the correlation to us. And I just want to be very clear, all ski areas are critical to getting people into our sports. And at the end of the day, we don't care where people go. We just want them to be skiing and snowboarding and having fun outside. Do we wish that they were supporting independent family-owned ski resorts? Of course, but we're still happy if they're on snow. But I would say the ethos of our marketing here, or my marketing here, is to take away a lot of the very orchestrated, thought out feeling of sales and marketing campaigns in the moment. I try and use all of our marketing to communicate to the customer as opposed to sell to the customer. And I feel like once we get them in the door, then we can try and educate them on what other programs that we have that they might not have known about. But first and foremost, I just want to let people know what's going on. As someone who's raised in this world, I feel constantly inundated by sales. And I think that's where we've lost a lot of our true ski bums and the heart of what skiing and snowboarding is, constantly having these perks and these add-ons and this, and it becomes a lot of noise. And I worry that people are looking at skiing and snowboarding just like they would going out to a movie theater or going out to bowling. It's just something that they do versus we want them to be lifelong passionate skiers and snowboarders and get into this world with us. So everything that I do on a marketing and sales point is to try and make that true connection and that lasting connection. But like you said, sometimes it's just down to what is the closest ski area outside my door. And sometimes we just can't fight that. And that's okay. Again, we want people to be outside.
Oh, totally. And I want to talk to you about the marketing voice in a second, but I will add, I think one thing for me with Troll, and that's from going to a couple places this year, that classic chalet look, the tables that look like they're from 1960 because they are, the outlets, a lot of that, it really does breathe authenticity. I think a lot of those aesthetics, it doesn't look like it was made last year by the right way or whatever. Not that it's weird in any way, but I think that a little bit of those aesthetics help Stroll a lot too.
Yeah, and I agree down to I'm glad you noticed those things because that's been a big part of my push here is brand and brand story as opposed to just a business. And I love that the bar chairs are scuffed up from years and years of ski boots resting on them. I love that the light fixtures might hang at a slight tilt or that one bulb is maybe flickering. And all of those things to me communicate history. And the same goes for our marketing and our content. I don't want highly polished drone footage and red cameras and stylized photo shoots because it to me it doesn't match our brand story. As we are approachable, like you said, we are authentic and we try and remove the pretension out of this activity that has gained a lot of it over the years. And you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a ski experience, but you also don't have to. And we listen to all these podcasts and we go to all these conferences where people talk about how skiing and snowboarding has become unaffordable, and I always scream through my screen. That's not entirely the case. The Midwest is the best place to learn how to ski and snowboard and the best place to get bang for your buck. And it doesn't have to break the bank. And I feel like across everything from our building to our marketing and the experience, we want it to feel approachable.
I love that. And, you have speaking of the brand voice, you have developed, it feels like a great third person brand voice because you often speak in the voice of the troll. And I really appreciate that. Do you think of the troll as a character when you're talking, or is that just you speaking in the third person?
Very much a character. David Sutton, who is my predecessor, was here for about 9 years before me, and we just celebrated our 76th season. So there's many people that have come before me, and I do feel the weight of the legacy on my shoulders all the time that I have to do right by the storytellers that came before me. And the physical troll character has been a part of this ski resort since the beginning. And I have the most terrifying paper mache mask in my office that would like haunt you to your very core. But it's since then, the troll character has always been in some way the spokesperson at the ski resort. And I use that voice very much so as even when I'm answering a DM on Facebook or Instagram, it is in the voice of the troll. And that voice is welcoming. I never respond to negative comments. If anyone is bashing another ski area or bashing us, I respond in a way that tries to flip it. If there's any power I have in this world, it's trying to push more love and connectivity and togetherness to everyone. And that is the voice of the troll for sure.
I love that you were always speaking as the troll, speaking with love as the troll. One question about the troll, is it in fact a gnome?
So we are open to interpretation. Trolls are very linked to our Scandinavian history. They're aesthetically not as pleasing. So we might throw in some gnomes in there and call it a troll. And that is up to perception as to what is a troll versus what is a gnome, or what is an elf versus all of these fairy creatures. But we are just constantly teetering on the edge of the enchanted forest, and whatever characters come into play, we like to say we're the land of misfit toys, and that's who we are.
I love it. Going back, one thing that you touched on that I was thinking about was responding to negativity. And I think that's something that's really universal for communicators or honestly people that have run some shit at some point of any sort of type. Oh, I guess I swore on the podcast. Oops. But I think that dealing with negativity is it's so intrinsic to things that people like. So can we talk a little bit more about what your philosophy is there?
Yeah, I feel like I have facilitated a social media landscape for our brands that is knowingly more positive. So we are very lucky in that we don't get a lot of negative feedback. But Jim Jr., our owner, we are absolutely customer service through and through. That is our ethos. So if someone leaves us a negative Google review, we are instantly trying to email, look up their order, and call them and say, hey, what happened and can we remedy it? We really feel like every negative, I shouldn't say every, most negative interactions are an opportunity to learn about what we can do better or address an issue. So any negativity that we face, we really try and face it head on. As far as the world of social media and the internet, the anonymity or the ease of negative comments is just so simple, or who's on the other end of it. And so I understand that. I understand that our world is in a strange place and negativity is free flowing, and we've created these platforms to make them do so very easily. But I would say that through our posts and our website and how we talk from the lifts to in the bar, everything we do here is to try and create a positive experience. And I feel like because we put that out into the world, we get less negativity than others might.
So one thing, and I got two questions on the negativity to follow up. This is the first one. And why I'm telling you this is I normally self deprecate at these times. So I'm just giving myself a pause as I'm collecting my thoughts. There's a little peek behind my scenes. What do you tell people like how to deal with the fact that the Saturday that they had free to ski happens to be rainy? Like how I don't know, how would you deal with disappointment on vacation and weather in general? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it happens a lot over holidays and late night Fridays. And our general answer is sadly, we can't control the weather.
Right.
We do allow flexibility in moving tickets. So, hey, sorry you couldn't come out today, or if you chose not to come out today, you can reschedule your ticket to a better day. And we see that a lot with school groups, church groups, youth groups that they've been really excited about this tubing day and it's negative 25. And so flexibility is really important in our business, and not all ski areas operate in that capacity, but we do. If you've ever met Rose in our ticket office, otherwise known as St. Rose, she's been here for 42 years.
Run named after her.
Yes, she is the utmost accommodating human, and there is just a bit of that in this industry, is understanding that people, just like someone going to visit Disney or going on spring break to Florida and it's raining. We know that people put a lot of time and effort and energy into these experiences, and so we try and be as flexible as possible to a point. We can't refund everyone because Mother Nature decided to be negative 30. So we try and push the messaging of no bad days, only bad outfits, type 2 fun. You'll remember this day forever, and some of that, and just be unapologetically corny and cheery sometimes, and also waving the white flag when we have to.
I want to talk about some of the communities I've seen around Trollhaugen because we talked about maybe like really good skiers and snowboarders versus newcomers. But I think one thing that people wouldn't know if they're not initiated to skiing is that there's several types of people there. There is the people that like to ski blue and black cruisers and look at dangerous stuff like me. I like to look at it and be like, oh, I'm gonna ski around all of that. And then there's people who will ski right through that, do the adventures, and then there's also like park kids, which people that are skiing and snowboarding over jumps, rails, etc., which I didn't even know how massive it was in the Midwest until I've really been around it this year. I would have known like that the X Games exist, but I didn't know just how many people are involved in that community. One thing I think that's really cool, and this is the longest question ever if I have to repeat myself, but I even did a pause there and I'm going to leave that in the broadcast. But one thing I've noticed and one thing I really appreciate is you have a lot of events like Take the Rake, for instance. You want to let the listener right there know what that is?
Yeah, there are so many sub demographics within skiing and snowboarding, and each of them has their own fashion and their own internal jargon and their own way of using social media and getting information, whether it's TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or an email. So each of those demographics is unique. And that makes for challenging days of getting information out. I rely on events heavily as a grassroots effort of marketing. And within those events, we get to also show what we care about. Take the Rake is an example of that. And 5 years ago, I started that as an initiative to try and get more attention on women in the operations of the ski industry, specifically those that build terrain parks. And like you said, if you're unfamiliar with what a terrain park is, think X Games and the jumps and those rail features that are mimicking what you might find in an urban setting, like stairs, handrail, and things like that. So, yeah, Take the Rake really brought a lot of international eyes to that specific storyline and also showed in our local community that we are using our platform not just as a local spot for recreation, but an international spot to create conversations that should be at the forefront of our industry.
I have noticed that the mentality is seeping, not mentality of women being in, not mentality, but I've just noticed more and more women getting into the outdoor arts, which I love, and not just be like, and also having just identity with it. Like I love that I see women mountain biking now. Not that it was always, not that there was never women there, but it just feels things are progressing. What is is it these type of things that are changing in the outdoor sports community, or what would you say it is?
I think there's a lot of awareness of the world of content that we have now and the power that someone has wielding a camera. And for many years, cameras were just not pointed at the women doing these same activities on the same courses, doing the same things as men. And I think we've really reached the point where a lot of women are taking it upon themselves to say, hey, we want to show our story. And representation is the simplest solution to getting more eyes and more inspiration. If you're a young girl in women mountain biking at Red Bull events that are taking those titles, now you see it as something that you could be doing. And same with the initiative of Take the Rake. It's you see a woman in a snowcat, maybe you've never seen one before, and now all of a sudden you think that's applicable to you and that you could be operating heavy machinery. So I think there's a lot of negativity of so much content and we're getting drowned by content, but there's a lot of positivity in opening doors and shedding light on things that might have been happening without lenses pointed at them, and now they're in the forefront thanks to storytelling capabilities of social media and things like that.
As you're creating these communities, I see you also working in a volunteer world in the Osceola Skate Park. What have you brought to that project that's maybe different than how you approach, paid work?
Sure. I am a big proponent of leave it better than you found it. I lived out west for a long time, and when I settled in the Midwest, I realized that these places weren't saturated with people like me and my friends living in Oregon and living in Colorado. Everyone is skateboarding and everyone is doing these activities. And here in rural Wisconsin, it's not so much. So I really saw an opportunity to create another safe meeting place to cultivate action sports in a community that really needs it. Snowboarding and skiing and skateboarding, they invite fashion and music and art and togetherness in a way that is really important right now for mental health as well. And I wanted to prove to myself that I could get a skate park from scratch. And so it was really a big passion project of mine. And really thankful to have a lot of people that without question just said, yeah, we want to help and put a lot of faith in me to get that off the ground and running. And we did 4 years of insanely dedicated time. And now there's a skate park in Osceola as a continuation of what Trollhagen provides. So that was a big reason too. We have this melting pot of people at Trollhagen all winter, and then the summer hits and all that goes away. So now there's a local space for all those kids to continue their friendships and their exercise.
It is interesting in the St. Croix Valley. I suppose this isn't applicable to everyone listening to the podcast and more a greater suburban dresser area thing. But how I wonder how the outdoor activities can become more cohesive in this area because I've started working with the woolly people on the mountain bike trail, and I've noticed that there's so many hiking and canoeing and skiing, and there's just so many opportunities, but it feels like they're all disparate when
I agree. There's a bit of a disjointed energy in this area for the outdoor world, but I think we'll start to see that shift in the next few years. I think there's a lot of younger folks that have moved to this area and see the potential for outdoor recreation. That's one of the reasons I moved here. I was like, I could go kayaking and not see a person. I could go biking and not see another person. That's amazing coming from Oregon, where you're stepping off the trail every 4 seconds because there's someone else coming. I think there is something really special about being in the outdoors without being super saturated. We want people to know about what we have here. And on the other arm, we're like, oh, this is really nice that there's not a zillion people out here. I do think that over the next few years, you'll see a lot of groups starting to come together. Already discovered Polk County and everything that Linda Schober has done with that kind of rebrand of those marketing initiatives. I think there's going to be a bigger shift towards unifying outdoor recreation in this neck of the woods.
Narsha, thank you so much. I got one sort of craft question and you to wrap things up. How can I point my phone at hills to make them not look boring?
Ha. People, it's always nice to have people in the shot. You are talking to someone who's been shooting the same things for 7 years straight and finding new ways to do it. So I hear you on that plight, and I'm constantly looking. You'll if you see me in the woods, that's me. I'm Marsha. I'm always jumping around in the woods in between trails trying to find a new angle. Low-hanging fruit is also our dogs that we have here that do a great job to re-energize things, troll figurines. I put in everything. So I would say invite some whimsy, invite some friends, and you'll have better shots in no time.
Any angle choices?
I really like to get down on the snow. I really like to get behind a tree so that there's bark in the frame. Yeah, I really like to try and do that old school rule of thirds and get people seeing the many layers of Trollhagen and the landscape and the skiing at hand.
Nice. I usually finish these up with the call to action, sell some stuff. We've said nice things for 30 minutes about Trollhagen, which I do truly love. So I'm obviously a biased host on this one. But what would you want anyone to know in this sort of time, in this sort of selling stuff with Trollhagen time?
Yeah. We are in a unique period of time in marketing and content creation and photo and video where we need authentic, real interaction. And the best camera that you have is the one in your hand. And show people authentic interactions. Here at Troll, that is all that I care about doing is showing people every day what it can do to you to get outside and breathe fresh air and make connections. And I will do that as long as I work here at Trollhagen. And as I said before, no matter where you go skiing or snowboarding or skateboarding, I don't care where, just go do it, disconnect, go make a new friend. There's a lot to offer here in the St. Croix River Valley. The Midwest, as I've said before, is not flyover country. It is a true gem of a place. And hopefully you guys stop by Trollhagen. But wherever you go, hopefully you're outside and enjoying your time.
Marsha, thank you so much. And I'm going to get back outside after this interview. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott.